Hi, beautiful people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're new, my name is Georgia. Welcome. So, we are about to do a recap and a review of Love and Marriage Detroit Season 1, Episode 3, titled Don't Rock the Boat. Don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat. Don't rock the boat over. Rock the boat. Don't rock the boat, baby. Anyway, so we left off where we were at the wine tasting. We have it where Brandon and Kristina's friend, I think her name is Chelsea, was going back and forth, and that's where we ended it. In my last review, I stated that, maybe Kristina should have stepped in, maybe Latoya should have stepped in, and of course, that's what it continued as. We had Kristina telling Brandon, chill, don't talk to my friend like that. The guys try to take up for Brandon with letting her know that, listen, we need him inside the club to be ordered to promote to actually move forward. And she's like, but I already told you I don't want him in the club. And his friends kind of backed off there. Bravo tried his best, but they see that she wasn't budging. She got upset when he's like, he told her that Brandon told Kristina that I don't feel like you have my back. Kristina was like, so what about me? I've spent 7 years in the house with our child or children. I forget if they have one or two. And I've had to put my career to the side. So what about me? She's like, every time something don't work out for you, I get blamed for it. And they were going back and forth like that, Kristina and Brandon, in front of all the guests. And in my mind, I'm like, y'all stop, shut it down, table it for later. But I guess people had enough to drink, or more than enough to drink, and tongues were loose. So eventually we had Anthony walk Brandon out, so he could go get some air. We had ladies, I believe it was Kolby, if it's not Kolby, or was it Latoya? I forget who was talking to Kristina, and she was still throwing shots because by this time she was livid. So I guess nobody could really stop her. So all right, I guess they calmed down a little bit. Now we see the couple walking down the street. Remember, they had moved into their new penthouse, so they were just, walking distance of the venue. So they're walking down the street and they're still talking about what happened at the wine tasting, or in general what's going on in their marriage. And again, Brandon doubled down and said, babe, I don't feel that you support me in what I'm doing. He's like, I just want you to be able to say, all right, babe, go out there and do what you need to do. And then when I come back home, I expect to have a nurturing, catering, caring wife. And Kristina was like, well, I want you to be a husband and a father. I don't want you out there running the streets. So again, they were still at an impasse. They were going a little bit. They weren't hearing each other. They were talking at each other, not listening to each other. So at one point, Brandon says to Kristina, do you want to be with me? And she's like, what do you mean by that? Do you want to be with me, or you just like the idea of being married? And she's looking at him, just looking. He said, of course I want to be with you. But he's like, why? And she didn't have an answer for him. I guess he waited long enough. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take a walk. And, he walked off and she went inside. So that was the scene between the two from the wine event, which I think they really needed to table that. That didn't need to go there. And I'm not sure who was responsible not to bring it up. I think Brandon should have been the bigger person and say, you know what, babe, let's talk about this at home. Because as we have Anthony saying, yeah, we're the men, we're the leader in our family and stuff like that. We're supposed to take the lead. He should have taken the lead on that situation and said, baby, let's talk about this at home. But no, they are carrying on. And remember, it wasn't just their party at the wine tasting. According to Latoya, she had some big movers and shakers there, and these people were going back and forth in front of everybody. Nobody could stop them. All right. So the next scene now, we have Latoya and Anthony. I think they were packing up the leftovers or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what they were doing, but they were talking about the situation. And Latoya said apologies are in order, meaning that Brandon and Kristina owed them an apology because, like I said before, she had quite a few people there, impressive people there, and they were going back and forth like they were in the street. So Anthony reminded her that, listen, at one point we were at this level and we came back from it. So you know what? Let's give them some grace for them to work through it. And Latoya was like, well, it's really not our business, so we're not really going to get into it like that with them. But if we could help them in any way with some advice, of course, babe, go ahead and do it, because that's your friend. But she said basically, it's not our business. All right, we left Latoya. No, we didn't leave it there. There was a point where Anthony's like, remember when you wanted to start your business, I was I was supportive in a way where I was financially supportive to you. You know, whatever you want, I give you. And I was financially supportive to you. She was like, but you weren't the only one. I put up money too. He's like, well, if I didn't put up most of the money, you wouldn't have gotten your business off the ground. So let's give me my acknowledgement. She's like, all right, I give you that. So now Anthony want to make it known that, listen, I would do anything for my wife. And we see that already in the first 2 episodes. But he needed that put out there on camera. So we left Latoya and Anthony in the parking lot. And then we have Kolby and Russell. We have Kolby at home. We see her parents come over. And I must say that these grandparents are getting younger and younger every day. Her parents look good. I mean, go ahead, Pastor and First Lady. So we have Kolby parents come over. And she wanted to have a meeting with them alone. She didn't want Russell involved. So Russell came and he got a baby. And cute little baby. And took her out for, I guess, a play day or just to go hang out while Kolby had to talk with her parents. So she's telling them that, I already know that Russell is in divinity school. And Dad, I know you know because he told me that you're helping him along. His father was like, oh, okay, so we could talk freely because I didn't know if he had told you. And she's like, well, I need some advice because I don't know how I feel about it. She's like, actually, yeah, I know how I feel about it. I don't like it. So her dad was like, but you haven't even given it a chance. You just shut it down. And her mom said to her, listen, when God calls on you and you don't question it, you just do. She's like, the relationship between God and a person, it trumps, for lack of a better word, the relationship between a man and his wife. Her dad was like, I'm sure it was a hard decision for him to come and tell you what was, on his heart. So you have to look at it that way. So she's like, Dad, I already know what you're going to say. When she was having her, not meltdown, but when she was voicing her opinion and having to say what she has to say, she's like, Dad, you know how I am. I don't put up with mess. And she's like, Dad, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that, he is the man of the family. Let him lead and so on and so forth. But she's like, well, what about me? And that's another thing, guys. I'm like, why is it that we as women have to table our dreams, our desires, our aspirations, our goals for the man? Why do we have to come second? Because I'm seeing it throughout this series so far that the ladies have to basically dress back and let the men step forward and do what they need to do. And I don't know if I agree with that. But we are only on episode 3, so I could be wrong about what's going on with them. But from what we're seeing, I think that's the narrative that's been pushed forward. Ladies, dress back, let the men do what they have to do. And like I said, I don't like it. So Kolby says, I feel that I have the right to ask questions, which is why I think that Russell should have actually said something to me about it before he actually started school. And, I shouldn't have to be the last one to find out what's going on. She's like, I feel like I'm repeating a cycle because I see you, Mom, when I was growing up that, everything came before the family. The church, God, the church, other people and stuff like that. But I don't want to be in that cycle. So they talked a little bit more about it. And then we left it at that. But that's where we are with Kolby and Russell. Her parents gave her some advice that she really needs to think over. And her and Russell need to talk about it some more. But he's already enrolled. He's a few weeks in. So I don't know if he's not going to back out. I mean, God calls on you to perform a task or, just be, and you have to follow that. So, he says he wants to be a chaplain. And I went and I looked at the difference between a chaplain and a pastor. And it says a chaplain is a certified clergy member who provides spiritual care for individuals in a non-religious organization rather than a church congregation. And a pastor, on the other hand, is an ordained clergy member who works in one religious organization, such as a church or a parish. So there's a difference between the two, and we're going to touch on it a little bit later. But yeah, that was Kolby and her parents discussing Russell's decision to start divinity school and tell her afterwards. Now we have Anthony and Latoya. Actually, just Anthony. We have Anthony at the production company, and he goes to check in on his people. They're getting ready for to do a shoot, I believe they say. And while he's there, Anthony calls Brandon just to check in on him regarding what happened at the wine tasting event. Brandon said he's right now on D&D, do not disturb. He lets Anthony know that since the night of him and Kristina having the fallout, he has not been home to the penthouse. He's actually stayed at the old address for now. And he has not talked to his wife since then. I'm not sure how much time has passed. I'm guessing it's a couple of days. Brandon felt that his boys didn't have his back at the wine tasting event when he was telling Kristina that she doesn't support his dreams or his aspirations or what he's doing. He felt that they could have been more vocal. And I understand why they did not get involved. That was between you and your wife, even though it was happening in front of a crowd. There was no way that we're going to jump in. But when we saw that it was not getting any better, that's when we decided to separate you guys. Anthony goes in and tells him about his situation when he almost lost his wife, as far as, you know, him moving to Atlanta, according to Latoya. And Latoya told her, you better bring yourself home or you won't have a house to come home to. So Anthony told Brandon, boy, you better go get your wife. Ain't nothing out here. Like how you don't feel supported, she don't feel supported. So you need to go get your wife and work it out. He's like, don't do the dumb stuff and walk away, because I remember when you were in a down place and when she came along, you were a whole different person. So you need to go find that person that you were back then and get back to that place and work things out with your wife. So that was his advice to Brandon. That was Anthony's advice to Brandon. Go get your wife and figure it out. Don't be out here boo-hooing to us because we ain't here for it. We got our own problems going on. And to Brandon's point, he said he felt better hearing Anthony's story because it makes him know that, you know, he's not the only one out here with problems in his marriage. So I guess they say misery love company, and maybe they could swap stories or give each other advice as what to do. But Anthony said, boy, go get your wife and stop playing. Now we have Kristina and Chelsea. Remember, Chelsea was at the wine tasting event with her, who Anthony told her, girl, mind your business. You're at a table with bosses. That Chelsea. So we are in Kristina's space. She has a collection called KVS collection. I guess she does fashion design and actually sews the clothes and stuff like that. So you're getting a one-of-a-kind piece. So that's, and she showed us some pictures of things that she's created and they look beautiful. So she has some talent there. So she's like, listen, I'm about to get this back up and running because I've been putting myself to the side way too long. And I'm not going to do that no more, especially after my husband is telling me that he has a new artist and didn't tell me about it. So we have her making a dress for Chelsea. Chelsea tells her she's open. She asks her, you know, what do you prefer? So she tells her she's open, but she has a little stipulation and, you know, she's going to work around that. So I'm looking forward to see what she made for Chelsea. Chelsea asks her, so what's going on since the event? Where's your hubby? She tells her he has not been home. And she don't know really. Well, she said no. She said he's been staying at the old address and he hasn't been home. So right now, I don't even know what's going on with him. But one thing I could tell you, girl, is that I am fighting for my marriage. I will not let this man go. The only time that we're going to break apart is if he tells me that he doesn't want to be married anymore. But until then, I'm going to do everything to make sure that I keep my marriage intact. And that's what I'm talking about. You got to be somebody who's willing to say, listen, we're going to have a rough time, but we're going to come through this and we're going to be better on the other side. So kudos to Kristina. People may say she's silly, walk away. Y'all don't know what it is until you're in it. So kudos to Kristina, girl. Fight for your marriage, fight for your man, fight for that union, fight for the father of your children, because there's a lot of temptation out there. A lot. All right, so that was Kristina and Chelsea. Now we have Anthony and Latoya. They're on date night. And she said they try to get out at least once per month. They want to keep the spark going. So they try to have date night once a month. So they're at a restaurant. They're having getting ready to have dinner. Anthony tell her that he's traveling soon to the ATL. And she cut him off. She's like, listen, I know we had our thing with that before, but you know, every time you gotta go, you don't have to tell me. And she's like, you know, there was a point in time where he's like, you know, I kind of feel a way about it because I almost lost you at that time. She's like, the only thing that happened is that, listen, we are in a suburban neighborhood where we are having to deal with racism with our children in school. And she's like, it was the arrogance about the whole way you did it when you went last time. You basically bought a house, packed up and moved. And he was like, no, it wasn't like that. She's like, well, that's how I took it. And she's like, I needed you here during, because remember, I told you it was during the pandemic when schools were closed. They had virtual learning at one point, and I guess the kids going back to school. And now they have to deal with these kids one-on-one. And they're saying that where they live, it's a predominantly white neighborhood. So their kids are having to be called names and being bullied and stuff like that. And she needed their dad there to help them out along with her. She needed that unit as a couple to make sure that they talk to their kids and, you know, get through it. And she feels like he's gone all the time. So that's what she was saying. She needed him there by her side. So they went back and forth like that for a little bit over dinner. And then we ended it there. But we're going to circle back around. We got 2 more scenes to go. And in the last scene, I was like, who's cutting onions? Why am I crying? But we're going to get to it. So now we have Kolby and Russell, and they are going to the gym. They're doing an obstacle course with ropes. They said they're about to test the limits. So they did all that, and now they're sitting down to talk. And she went over how, you know, she spoke about it with her father and what his responses were. And Russell was like, I'm kind of happy that you did talk to him, you know, about it, because I needed him in my corner to help me help you understand. And he's like, you know, if I'm going to be a pastor. And she's like, whoa. You didn't say nothing about being a pastor. You said chaplain. And that is when I went and Googled the difference between chaplain and pastor. So we have it where one, like we say, provides spiritual care for individuals in a non-religious organization. And the pastor is an ordained clergy member who works in a religious organization. So he's going to be a chaplain in the Army National Guard. So that's where he is. And then he's like, but if my God puts it on my heart to go further and become an ordained minister, how am I gonna not do it? She said, well, I ain't ready to be nobody's first lady. I'm like, holy, oh my goodness, Kolby, you two are my favorite. I would hate to see you guys break apart because you don't want to go back into the church, being that you grew up as a preacher's kid, because you're talking about you don't want to be nobody's first lady. So we had Russell looking at her like, you better stop, girl, because if God calls me to move further with this, that's what I'm going to do. So that's where we have Russell and Kolby having a conversation about, you know, what's to come. Well, I wish them all the best, and I'm sure we'll be able to see it going forward, because I think by now we all know that they're going to do this is going to be picked up again because it's a good series. Love and Marriage Detroit, it's good. And we're only in episode 3. One thing I could say is about all the couples is like everybody has their issues in here and they're putting it out. They're giving us their reality. Unlike some others, they are giving us their reality. And we are here for it. And we will be giving our opinion on it because what? You put it in front of us. So therefore, you're going to get our opinion. All right. So the last scene of the day, and now we're meeting another couple. So we have Latoya and Anthony. They're going boating for the day and they've invited along Coach Tim and Tracy. And we find out that Coach Tim used to be a coach for the Detroit Lions, but then he moved away, but now he's back. So they're showing him and his wife the new Detroit. They're doing it on the water because I believe the waterfront is being built up. And I think also they were voted the best looking waterfront in the United States. By whom? I think the New York Times, I'm not sure, but they were voted the best waterfront in the United States. So they're calling it Pretty Detroit. Like Anthony said back in the days, his parents told him that Detroit was so pretty, and he is just appreciating the fact that, you know, he could be back there, or the fact that it's actually building back up. Now, what had me crying is, I believe Anthony brought up the fact about him going to Atlanta. No, it was Latoya. She said at one point, this dude packed up his stuff and moved to Atlanta. So then Anthony goes in and he told us why. He said the opportunities for film production was better in Atlanta. And he was trying to bring some of that back to Detroit, you know, in his production company, as far as providing jobs and just making the place better. And that was the reason why he got up and left. Now Toya was like, but that's not how you presented it to me. You just got up and left. And you know, he said that his in-laws were in her ear telling her that the Lord didn't bless that they didn't bless that decision. It wasn't put on his heart. And he was like, everybody was coming at me. Your dad was coming at me. All my in-laws was coming at me. And at one point, you know, as he said, I give you everything. He's like, I'm there for you in everything. I support you in everything. And all I needed at that point was somebody to be in my corner. He's like, I needed that. I wanted that. I needed that to happen. I started bawling because I'm like, this is how most of our African-American men feel. They feel that they are not supported in decisions that they make. The family doesn't back them like they should. And they have to be doing everything on their own. On top of doing everything on their own as far as happening, you have society coming at them. Because as you guys know, you know how it is out here for our black men. Society is coming at them left, right, and center. If they're not putting something in them, they're targeting them. And it's a battle out there for our African-American brothers. I mean, there are those who, you know, who have the support that they need. So they will move forward if they have this. But Anthony is saying that he didn't have that and he needed that at the time. So for them to be criticizing him, he didn't need that. He needed his people to be in his corner as well as his wife. And for her to call him and tell him that, listen, if you don't bring yourself back here, you won't have a family to come back to. You know, that hurt him, and it gave him an ultimatum. And of course he chose his family. But now he's back out there doing what he has to do. And I think he's going to be successful at it. He said there were a lot of missed opportunities and he felt attacked. So that's where it was. I think the coach tried to make him feel a little bit better, try to get Latoya to understand more coming from another African-American man's perspective. And you could see that Latoya felt bad. You saw the look on her face like, damn, I didn't know this is how you were feeling, babe. So, yeah, that is where the episode ended with Anthony. I mean, he put up a front, but that boy had me crying. I'm like, really, Anthony? I was starting not to like you and you come with this, and now I'm like, oh, no. He just seemed so vulnerable at that moment, and I'm like, nah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I see it happening. And I got where he was coming from. So yeah, that was the episode. They ended the episode there. They gave us the Preview of the next one, we see where Brandon is telling Kristina that Kolby is coming for you. Kolby is letting him know there's more than enough work out here for all of us influencers, and there is content creators. So we see that happening. And what else we see? I forget what else, but like I said, season 1, episode 3, and we're getting all this. It's a lot, and it's good, and it seems authentic. They're claiming that there's some of these shows out here that's not authentic reality shows, but this one seems to be good. And the fact that God is so inserted into this one. We have 2 preachers' kids. We have a gentleman in divinity school and a wife who's a potential first lady who don't want to be. So that's interesting to me. So guys, thank you for watching my review of Love and Marriage Detroit season. I keep jumping all over the place. Love and Marriage Detroit season 1, episode 3, titled "Don't Rock the Boat, Baby." And make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, because I will be reviewing the other episodes, and share this video if you wish. And until next time, make sure to take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye.